Welcome to the Encourage Project. I'm Amy Fairchild, and I am so happy you are here. I'm recording this on a Monday, and it's already gotten off to an interesting start. So I'm super happy to introduce you to today's guest here in a minute. I got to tell you, Mondays always feel weird until I make my bed. And I want to talk about that for just a second. It's the simplest thing in the world, but making your bed is like giving yourself a free win every single day. You know, I have this habit stack that I practice every morning. And one of the very, very first things I do is I get up, I make a pit stop, and then I go make my bed. And it's just like, ta-da, I've gotten one thing right and the day is off to a good start. And you know, as if you've listened to me and you've listened to a lot of our guests, you know that action creates momentum. So why not start your day by making your bed? So there you go. Happy Monday. Make your bed. So if you are new to the Encourage Project podcast, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. And if you are a seasoned listener, welcome back. And as you wrap up today's episode, give us a review. We love stars. Stars make me super happy. And also we love the actual feedback. Leave a written review. Tell us what you're liking and what you're enjoying and what you want to see more of. It makes it a much richer experience for everyone, and it really helps the community overall. So without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about today's guest. Jillian Laudano is a personal transformation coach. She is an energy healer, a speaker, and she hosts a weekly live talk show called Thursday Talks. She has a degree in communications with minors in psychology and photography, which to me is a super cool combination of stuff. She's globally certified life and success coach, a master level integrated energy therapy practitioner, emotional freedom technique practitioner, a sound healer, and a spiritual practitioner. She has manifested really, really cool things in her life. Everything from like unconditional love to massive success to happiness and abundance, and even miraculous healing. And I want to hear a little bit more about that in particular. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Jillian Laudano to the Encourage Project community. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Amy, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be on your show today.
You are welcome. And let's just get the elephant out of the room between me and you. For everyone in the community, this is our second time recording this episode. We tried last week, and for whatever reason, the recording didn't happen. And Jillian was so gracious. I said, "Oh, I'm so mortified." She's like, "No problem. Let's do it Monday." So here we are. It's a Monday morning, and I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Tell us a little bit about you. I mean, I talked a little bit about what you bring, but talk a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So all of the things that you said, those are all things that I do. I'm also a mom to two kids. I have a 12-year-old named Bianca and a 14-year-old named Maddox. I'm a wife to my husband, Eric, who I've been with for a lot of years. After I had gotten my degree, which you mentioned, communications and psychology and photography, I went on to become a hairstylist for a lot of years. And from there, I had a spiritual awakening in my life, and I really started moving towards a different way of serving people. We could talk more about that after, but so all of my journeys in life have brought me to where I am today. And even like you mentioned with us recording the podcast and not recording, I believe everything happens for a reason. So maybe today's interview is just going to have something more to it that somebody needs to hear. So I'm very much open to all things. So
Oh, I love that about you. I just love that about you. I keep saying this. One of these days, I'm actually going to record the video and publish it, because if you could see Jillian smile, you can't help but believe everything she says. It's just like, oh, it is okay that we're doing this a second time. So let's dig into some of this cool stuff that you do. What initially drew you to coaching and energy healing and those types of modalities?
yeah, so like I had mentioned, I've been a stylist for a lot of years. So working one-on-one with people in their energy field really made me realize that that was what I loved most about the business. I thought initially it was the creative aspect of it because I'm a very creative Sagittarius, and I always thought that's what drew me to it. But come to find out, it was serving people in a different way. And when people would leave my chair, they would always say, "Thank you, not only for making me look and feel amazing, but for this talk we had today, or you listening to me." So coaching was a natural progression, believe it or not. The energy work was when I became really ill a couple of years ago. I had a lot of transition going on in my life in regards to my husband's job. And it was just very strange time. And the way my body processed all of that stress was with a lot of illness. I became very, very sick with pneumonia. It wouldn't go away. All the medicines they gave me, nothing was working. Very long story short, within that time period, I realized I need to heal myself. And I have the ability to do that because the stress in the environment around me created this. I need to take control and I need to go inward. And I did. And my meditation practice, which I've been doing for many, many years, up leveled significantly during that illness. All I did for 6 weeks was lay in bed and meditate every day around the clock. It was unbelievable. I had some very profound experiences, which to this day, I'm still trying to relive them because they were just so wild. But it really made me realize I need to learn how to heal myself, which is interesting because coaching is very similar. You're guiding your clients to go within and find the answers because they have the answers. So I really believe that there's this common thread through all of the things that I do. Nothing is by accident, even though some things sound like very far off, like hairstylist to life coach. It really isn't. It's all perfectly connected. And I'm just trusting the process and doing all the things that are divinely downloaded in my mind.
Talk a little bit about the difference between a coach and, say, maybe a therapist. What's the difference? A lot of people don't really even know what life coaching is.
You're right. I get that question actually from a lot of people. When they heard I was doing this, they said, "What's that? Kind of like a therapist?" No, it's really not actually. It's very different. In therapy, you're working a lot with past traumas, past issues, past things to get you to where you are now to, kind of move forward in your life. But with coaching, you're really working on present day into future. And it's more about finding something that you're good at and moving forward with it. So someone comes to a coach because they want to move forward in their life. They're ready. They're ready to make a change in whatever it could be. I mean, there's coaches for finance, relationships, you name it, there's a coach for it. So a coach is someone that walks with you to help achieve the goals that it is you're trying to achieve, but it's client led, which is beautiful because that's when the big changes happen. If I said to you, Amy, this is what you need to do, you might listen to me right then and there, but it's not going to have real value to you because you didn't come up with it. You're just listening to what I said. So in coaching, we're asking very thought-provoking questions, really, really listening to everything you're saying and drawing out of you what the answers are, and you figure them out. So it's profound on so many levels. Coaching has helped me move forward in my own life, so I know that it works. So yeah, it's very different. And it's also different from consulting. Like I had just said, consulting, you're going for someone who's a professional in an area to tell you what it is you need to do or how to do it. Coaching is not that. It's very much client led. And like I said, it's profound on many levels. And anyone who's experienced it knows it really works.
Oh, yes. 100% yes. And it's interesting that you say the difference between, say, coaching and consulting, because I provide both in my practice. I am a project management consultant, and I am also a coach around purpose and leadership. And I work with clients very differently in those two contexts. And the cool thing about it for me is a lot of leaders want to also leverage project management to do what they do. And so I get to provide that much more service to people. But it is very different. And I agree with you. Watching someone discover something that they had inside, it's kind of like watching them unwrap a Christmas present. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And here it is. And it's shiny and it's awesome. And I did it myself. And you're absolutely right about people needing to come up with their own answers. Because I cannot tell you how many consulting clients I have had who pay me for my expertise. And I explain to them what they need to do, and they just don't do it. Yet when I offer the same kind of thing to a coaching client in a different way, where I help them find it themselves, all of a sudden it's like the best idea ever. And I've tried it with people. And sometimes they'll come back to me and go, oh yeah, when I was your consulting client, you told me that. I'm like, but when you found it yourself, it was a great idea, right? I love that. I love that so much. Talk about being an energy healer. Am I saying that right? An energy healer? I
Yeah.
don't even know I kind of know what that is, but I'm going to pretend I don't, because there are people out there who have no idea and I want them to hear. So what exactly is an energy healer?
Well, here's the thing. We all have energy. We all are energy. Every single thing is energy. So with energy healing, I'm not really the person that's going to heal you. You have to do that on your own. I'm kind of like a conduit almost that helps you get your energy flowing the right way. So the word energy healer is very it's a tricky word because some people hear it and think, "Oh my god, they're going to heal me." I'm not going to, just like coaching. I'm not going to, solve your problem. You're going to do it on your own. I'm going to walk with you on this journey. So with energy healing, the one that I really took a strong liking to was integrated energy therapy, which is becoming more known. I feel like Reiki is the most known. Everybody knows Reiki, and that's working on a physical realm of energy, whereas integrated energy therapy, to some people, it might sound out there. Hey, that's okay. I'm not for everybody, but it's working more with all the way up to an angelic realm. So, say I was doing a session on you in person or remotely. I would heart link with my guides, my spirits, my angels, your guides, your spirits, your angels, all together in harmony to help you get to where it is you want to be. And it's like, I'm just kind of, like I said, the conduit. My energy is not healing you. It's kind of the universal force and the angelic field. So there are different points on people's bodies, different meridians. We all have, energy flowing through our bodies. So back to ancient Chinese acupuncture and acupressure, they work on the endpoints of meridian systems, which also goes with the emotional freedom technique that I do too, which we could talk about later or whenever. But we are working on these energetic points, and it's helping the energy to flow in someone's body. So you're releasing things that are limiting beliefs, things that don't serve you any longer, and you're imprinting new feelings, new emotions. And it's really interesting because at the end of a session, the things that come up for people sometimes, some people might get really emotional and cry, not in a bad way, just a release. Some people feel giddy, some people feel tired. I always tell people, wait a few days, whatever happened, let it integrate. Think about what comes up for you, what you we know reflect on the experience. Me as the practitioner, things come up for me as well when I'm working on somebody. Sometimes you see things, you feel things, you know things. It's a very interesting it's an interesting field, no doubt, but it's so natural because again, we are all energy. That's what everything is. So when you're working with energy, you're just working with universal force. So it's something that anyone and everyone could benefit from at some point in their life if they're open to receiving something like that. And energy work can also be done remotely. It doesn't have to be done in person. And I've had some pretty profound experiences with that as well. So yeah, if you've never tried it, Reiki, integrated energy therapy, all of these modalities are beautiful and you feel amazing after them.
Wow. I love that so much. And it's interesting that you said, if you're open to it. And I think about how people today generally perceive healing from the medical perspective and in the medical context. When, to your point, there are certain healing techniques that have been around for thousands of years. And it's always fascinating to me when people, for example, poo-poo, if you will, energy healing. Oh, please, that's just woo-woo stuff and it doesn't make any sense. And if you think about it, people said the exact same thing about medicine 2000 years ago. So it's an evolution of adoption, I think. And I do think there are more people who are becoming more open to what I kind of call whole self healing, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, and the mental, and healing all four of those components of a person through different means. And what's interesting too, and you kind of alluded to this, you said, I'm not for everybody. But what you really meant is not every modality is for every person. And I like to say, not everybody likes chocolate ice cream, but that does not mean chocolate ice cream is any less delicious. So, right? It's the same kind of thing. What would you say, or what do you say to the people who aren't even open to hearing about what energy healing, for example, is? How do you respond to that?
Well, I've learned through the years that you can't push somebody to learn what they're not ready to learn. There might have been a time in my life that I wasn't open to certain things. I wouldn't say energy stuff because since I was a child, I've been extremely intuitive and very much on that side of things. But there's other things in my life that I might not have been open to. And I find that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So there's lots of people that I know that want nothing to do with any of this. And it's interesting because a lot of them are very science-based people. And there is scientific evidence behind all of these energy healing modalities. Emotional freedom technique that I mentioned before, EFT tapping, if you will, is tapping with your hand on your end points of the meridians, on your face, on your neck, under your arm. And there is scientific evidence all over the place that shows brainwaves actually calming. So it always interests me when my science-based community says to me, oh, I need to know black and white. There is that for all of this, but I don't argue. I really don't. I always say when they're ready, they'll learn. And the other interesting thing is our bodies are meant to heal themselves. If you think about it, fevers, right? We all get nervous with a fever. Take Tylenol. A fever is your body's response to there's something going on, and it creates this fire in your body to kill it. It's genius. So we don't give our bodies enough credit. So when you're doing energy work, you're tapping into your own body and your own system of healing. But the interesting thing is, if you ever watch TV at night, the commercials, every other commercials for a medication, okay, they might help whatever the problem is, but if you listen to the side effects,
Oh my gosh.
it's
Yes.
interesting how many people are willing to take those, but they're not willing to do a Reiki session or an integrated energy therapy session. So it's a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift that people need to make on their own. And once they do, it opens so many doors to so many possibilities. And it's just a beautiful thing. But to answer your question, I don't argue with people anymore. I put out the information, and if they're ready, I'll tell them more. If they're not, I step away because I'm not here to change anyone's truth.
Oh, I love that so much. I've always kind of taken the perspective, I'm not in the convincing business, I'm in the coaching business. I agree with you. And in the beginning, I used to get a little bit offended. I'm like, why don't you want to hear what I have to say? And it's not about me. I had to read a book. There's a book called It's Not About You by Berg and Mann. And it talks about that. It's not about me. If someone doesn't want to listen, they're not ready. And I love that so much. There's another thing that you practice that I want to hear about, and that is you are a spiritual practitioner.
Mhm.
So what are you? Are you a witch? What are you?
No, not at all. It's funny you should say that. So when I did my coaching certification through the Jay Shetty program, which was fantastic, I aligned with Jay because he has a lot of facets to him, which is very much how I am. He was a monk for many years, and so I aligned with him. However, there's still more to the spiritual side. And when I say spirituality, I am in no ways referring to religion of any kind, organized religion, churches, nothing like that. Spirituality is within. And so I also took a spiritual coaching program simultaneously. Doing two huge programs at once was a little taxing, but it was meant to be, and it all happened that way. So a spiritual practitioner is working with spirit. You can call it whatever you want: source energy, universal life force, God, whatever you want to call it. Again, no religious connotation whatsoever. And that is teaching people how to meditate, how to listen to your body, how to tap into your intuition. So when I say spiritual practitioner, it's more of your own spirit, your spirit connected to the whole. And it's interesting because when I created my coaching practice, it has a lot of that in it. And when I open a session, I always ask my clients, would you be willing to start with a meditation today? If they say no, I would never continue. I would say 100% of the time they say yes, because that immediately changes the energy and changes the flow. And even if we do no more of any of that throughout the whole conversation, that is what Abraham Hicks called segment intending. So we go into the segment with the intention that we're creating this space. We're leaving behind anything we had before this, and we're setting this intention now to what we need to know, what we need to see, what we need to hear, for all of it to come out, to receive all of it. So when I say spiritual practitioner, it's really teaching people how to tap into their own intuition, their own inner guidance system, to start trusting in all of the things, trusting you're one of one. So again, it's funny you say that. Are you a witch? Are you this? No, it's none of that. It's really empowering people to know what they already know. To be honest, it's drawing it out, which is why it goes perfectly with coaching, because it's what's inside of you. We're bringing it out. I'm just holding a mirror to what you already have.
I love that. And I love that for the reason that I understand it better today than I would have understood it a year or two or three ago, because I myself have gone through a journey of relearning to listen to my intuition. almost all of us, unless we were raised out in the woods with zero influence from society and culture and an upbringing in school and all the things, almost all of us are a result of our environment and conditioning. And that's just true. That's just the way we are. And it's the best way we know how to raise youth in modern society. And what happens as a result of having grown up with your conditioning and your environment and the influences around you is that oftentimes the listening to our intuition gets pushed further and further and further down. And it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that we learned other ways to get things done. And for me, coming back to intuition was one of the most challenging and beautiful things I've ever done. And I've been very, very good my whole life at being a judge of character. I was having this conversation with someone not long ago. I've been wrong about a person one time in my entire life. And it's because I trust my intuition with people. And when someone kind of put a mirror up to me, like you do with people, and said, hey, why don't you use that same feeling in other areas of your life? I was like, oh, holy crap. And now I do. And I'm learning every single day, and I'm getting better and better. But yes, I think it's beautiful that you show people how to relearn what each and every one of us is born with. And I think that that's beautiful. I love that so much.
Thank you.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges? Let's take the spiritual guidance that you provide people. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges most of your clients face in embarking on that spiritual journey to rediscover intuition and rediscover gifts and rediscover what they're born with?
I think hands down, it's trusting. Most people have a problem with trusting that they are supported by, again, whatever, whomever. Everybody, not everybody, that's a blanket statement, but many people feel they have to do everything themselves. They have to do, and it's exhausting, and they never relinquish any control, and they create resistance around what it is they even want. So somebody saying, I want to follow my intuition, there's a part in their mind that might not trust themselves. So how could they follow their intuition? So just the fact that they're not trusting themselves is creating resistance around the very thing that they want to manifest. So trusting, to me, is one of the hardest things for us humans to lean into, because it means that we have to kind of step back. And we're a bunch of control freaks in this society. So stepping
Yes.
back is very, very hard for us to do. So if I was to tell you, Amy, the next time you meet somebody, I want you to listen to what your body says about this person. Don't think about what your mind thinks. What does your body feel the moment you meet them? You might do that, but you might not trust that your body was accurate enough that you're just going to jump back in with your mind, right? So that's the hardest part, is just allowing yourself to trust that you are supported and trust that your body, like you said before, this is one of our senses. People talk about the five senses all the time. They never talk about this one. And it's something every single one of us has. And if it's not developed, it, like you said, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just not heightened enough. So I would say trusting is the hardest part for people that are embarking on a spiritual journey, to really relinquish control and to trust. Because here's one last thing. When your life is panning out and you have problems here or there, which we're all going to have, a lot of people start doubting, well, if I'm supported, why would this have happened? I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. Nobody ever said life was going to be perfect. And if you could learn to trust in those situations, you are golden. Those, I almost feel like those are tests. Can you still trust when this curveball gets thrown at you? Or is your trust going to go out the window? Telling you, it's very, very, very interesting. So a very long-winded explanation, but that would be my answer, would be trust.
I think that's phenomenal. And, you call those challenges, perhaps tests. And I would add to that, they're lessons. And I think learning to step back from those and be objective for just a moment and look for the lesson. And it sucks. Let's be honest. It sucks when that stuff happens, and it's hard, and I get it. And also, it's a practice. It takes practice. Like everything else, it takes practice to feel all the feelings in the moment, feel the frustration or the anger or the sadness, whatever, feel the feelings. I don't think Jillian's saying this. I know I'm not saying this. I'm not saying don't feel the feelings. Feel the feelings. And at the point which those things have subsided a bit, take a step back and say, okay, what am I being invited to learn in this moment? I know this because I am practicing it myself. When I take that step back and ask what I'm being invited to learn, I always, always am better off for it. Does it make it suck any less? No. Does it prepare me for the next time something similar happens? Absolutely. Right? It's fascinating. So if that's one of the biggest things people have in learning to develop that spiritual practice, what's one of the coolest things you've seen from a breakthrough perspective? I'm not asking you to name names or anything, but because we don't do that. But what's one of the coolest things that someone has experienced, or one of the coolest things that someone has come back to you and said, hey, I did what you asked me to do, and this is what happened?
Well, one of the things that happened, again, I'm not going to name names, obviously, but there was a client who I worked with who had a breakthrough in a forgiveness exercise, which I feel forgiveness exercises are very spiritual because you have to dig deep to start forgiving yourself and other people. And when you're doing this free writing exercise, things come up that because you're channeling during this. And that's what I tell my clients. There's no punctuation, there's no grammar. It is one giant run on sentence. And once you start writing, the things that start coming up, your hand is just moving and you don't even know where they're coming from. I've had it happen to me as well. So this one particular client told me their big breakthrough moment was as their hands going, like I said, channeled message, you don't even know what's coming out. He forgave God. He's a very, very religious man, by the way. And that was so profound for him and for me to hear and to witness. I don't think he ever knew that was somebody, because there, again, I'm not getting into this client's life, but there was something in his life that apparently that he was very upset about, that he must have been holding a grudge against God for, that he never knew. But in this exercise, and it's I'm not saying I'm not a fan of exercises. I am, but I like exercises that are very much connected to you. So something like this, like I said, once you start flowing, it's channeled messaging. It really is, which goes back to the spiritual side of things. And that's what came out. And the look on his face when he said this to me, it was such a huge moment for so many reasons. So that was, I mean, there's lots of different stories, but that would be, I would say, one of the most profound, knowing his background, knowing how spiritual and religious he is, and then not realizing this was something that he had to forgive. And it came out in the release you experience from something like this. So it was pretty profound.
Wow. I just have goosebumps after what you just said. Wow. Holy cow. One of the things that I hear often when people are working on human projects is they feel stuck. And oftentimes I have found that it is being stuck over things that one doesn't necessarily believe are directly related to the goal or the project at hand. I have seen when people deal with the things that might seemingly be unrelated, they either open up brain space or heart space or creative space or energy to then refocus and re-energize on the things that are important to them. It's almost like a block was removed. It's almost like a burden was lifted. And it's fascinating to think about how those things affect us. I mean, I personally went through something very similar this weekend. I was doing a forgiveness exercise on Saturday, and I didn't really think there was anything I needed to write. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm writing. And I had this incredible revelation that I need to forgive my brother who committed suicide years and years and years ago. And I didn't know, I thought I had. And in the understanding of that, and I don't want to go into those details because I won't be able to do it without crying. But in the understanding of that knowing, learning that that's something that I need to work on and do, just even understanding that that needs to be addressed was a huge breakthrough. Right. And then being able to take that next step over these next couple of weeks, I'm going to continue to work on that and resolve that. But just creating the understanding was extraordinary. I can imagine that you have several experiences just helping people create awareness, if you will, that it even needs to be done. How do you get someone to just consider, hey, have you ever considered that maybe there's something going on that is unrelated to what you're talking about? Talk a little bit about that.
One thing I want to say, I'm so sorry to hear about your brother. I can't even imagine. I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that. And it's interesting that you say that came up for you, because I had a similar instance when I was free writing one time, and my mother passed away from cancer when I was 28, and she had cancer for 15 years. And in the very middle of my free writing, I wrote, "I forgive my mom for dying." And I stopped, I put my pen down and I said, "Oh my God, I never thought I never thought I had to forgive her for that." So I totally relate to what you just said. And that leads me to what you're talking about with blocks of things you don't really feel are related to something else, like us forgiving loved ones for passing on. We never, if somebody ever said to us, "Are you guys mad at them for doing that?" We'd say, "No, what do you mean? Of course we're not mad at them for doing that." But in that exercise, it came out for both of us. And it wasn't that we were mad, it was just something we were holding on to that needed to be released. But to answer your question about being stuck, yes, all the time. When people are trying to reach towards goals, the cool thing with coaching is we're really, really listening. And not only are we listening, we're following body language, or at least that's my main goal. And watching people's energy shift when they're talking about certain things clues me into the fact of, is this even really the real thing they're working on? I don't know that it is. So now the questioning takes a different path. 9 out of 10 times we find out, like you said, there's something totally unrelated that is standing in the way to where it is they think they even want to go in the first place. So for me, like I said, yes, it's speaking with the person, but I find watching body language and really tapping into my client's energy gets me to really understand this is not about what they're talking about. There is something else. Let's figure out what that is. And by series of questions, you start uncovering things that, again, might have nothing to do with where this conversation even started. But like we said with the forgiveness exercise, sometimes we are not aware of that. So creating awareness by asking the right questions, watching the way somebody's moving when they're talking. When are they really up when they're talking, or do they start shrinking down? Do they start moving their hands? Are they playing with their hair? What are they doing? Those things clue you into something's not right, and they might not even realize it. So creating awareness is key. That is the biggest part of any breakthrough or any revelation. And I really think, like I said, following the client's energy, asking the right questions is the best way to create the awareness and to find the real root of the block, because that's what's really holding you back.
Oh, I love that so much. It is very easy for us as humans to look outside ourselves for reasons why we aren't doing what we want to do, saying what we want to say, being what we want to be, looking the way we want to look. I'll just be honest, because I'll use myself as an example. It is difficult to look at oneself and go, what role do I play in my success? What role do I play in achieving the things I want to achieve? And it's hard to ask yourself that question. It is very hard to come to a realization that, well, okay, maybe I have some work to do. And for me, the transition from beating myself up to feeling empowered was all around forgiveness, forgiving myself in that I made the best decisions I could at various points in time with the information that I had, as an example. And I'll take my dating project as an example. I did a whole episode on that. And over my course of learning to become a better dater and a better girlfriend and a better relationship person overall, I had to look at myself. What role had I played in those failed relationships? What role had I played in creating a dating life that sucked? Right. And then what role do I get to play in creating relationships that I like? And what role do I get to play in creating a fun dating experience? And what role do I get to play with this person that I'm dating and creating something special? But all of that to say, it can be difficult. And I get it. I get that it can be difficult, but it's not until we ask the hard questions and kind of brace ourselves for the answer sometimes that we even have the opportunity to remove the obstacle, right?
Yeah, I
Oh,
totally agree.
that makes me so happy. So much of what you do with people is really incredible and warrants celebration. And I know you're a celebration girl. We talked about this the first episode we did that no one will ever hear. Talk a little bit about what role celebration plays in your life, but also in how you work with people.
Celebration is key. Oh my goodness. I wish more people celebrated. And you know what's funny? When you were just talking about success a moment ago, I feel like what really is success to a person, that needs to be measured, because along the way, there's lots of steps that are pieces to this success that we're not celebrating. You might have a financial goal, and if you're not there yet, you're not successful. However, all the things you learned along the way, the people you met, the things you did, isn't that success too? So I am all about celebrating. And with my clients, I feel like I've had several tell me, you're such a cheerleader, which I've never been a real cheerleader in life. But for my clients, I am. Nothing against cheerleaders. It's just funny that a couple people have said the same term, because I'm always celebrating their success and their wins. Because if we could practice celebrating the smaller wins, then when the big wins happen, we could really experience them. Because if we don't celebrate the smaller wins, you're not going to celebrate the bigger ones because you've never practiced along the way. You think you're going to when you get to that big goal, but if you've never done it all along, you're not as inclined to do it. So I grew up in a house where we celebrated everything. My mother had parties for everybody and everything. If you were having a baby, if you were having a birthday, whoever you were, we were having a party for it. Even my grandmother started unbirthday presents. And to this day, I carry that on. Whenever one of my kids has a birthday, the other one gets an unbirthday present because it's just a day of celebration. We're all celebrating and it's so fun. So working with clients along their journeys, there is so much celebration because everything you do warrants recognition and celebrating. And it's funny, I listened to an episode of your podcast, a woman who is a network marketer. And I do network marketing as well, which is another form of personal transformation and health and wellness and beauty. And with that, when I first started, I thought I was going to hit a certain rank at a certain time. And I was gung ho and I was headed to that trajectory. All of a sudden, it kind of plateaued. And I was really, really hard on myself. I'm not going to lie. And one of my friends talked to me one day and said, think about it. What else have you gained during this so far? And I'm not going to lie, a network marketing company is any of them. They're self-development companies wrapped up as something else. And I thought to myself, boy, she's right. Yeah, I didn't hit the rank I thought I was going to hit at the certain time. I mean, there's still time for me to do that, but the amount that I have gained and the successes that I have made throughout this, how could I negate all of that? How did I not even think of that? So I started, as I moved on with that journey, I was celebrating every little thing as if it was huge, as if it was the giant goal I wanted to hit. And it changes your whole perspective on your business. So anyone listening today, any little success that you make, celebrate it. It's one little thing towards the big goal. The big goal doesn't have to be the only thing celebrated. All of the things leading up to it do. Just like when someone's pregnant. When I was pregnant with my kids, I had this little baby journal, and every month I would write in a new thing or, all of these different things. So excited, so excited. But I always thought, why can't we do that with everything? Why can't we celebrate along the way? So yes, I think celebration is really important in success because it gets you prepared to be excited. And once you're excited, your energy's higher. And when your energy's higher, you attract more of that. So it's really to your benefit to start having a party.
Heck yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much. And I also love that you talked about measuring. In fact, is just 2 days ago, I made a post about you cannot manage what you do not measure. The same thing goes with celebration. And I think people hesitate to celebrate because they're not really sure that they made progress. Well, how the hell do you know? Because you measure it. And if you measure it, then you see, oh, I did make progress. Yippee. Right. And it's not the same thing as everybody getting a participation ribbon. Let's be really honest about that. We're not talking about everybody gets a trophy here. We're talking about moving things forward and celebrating the process. Because if you are capable of celebrating the process and falling in love with the process, no matter how long it takes to finish the vision or the goal that you have set out for yourself, that celebration, like Jillian said, it creates momentum. It's like, okay, cool. I made that progress. Awesome. I got that down. Now, what am I going to tackle next? Okay, awesome. Great. Woohoo. Celebrate that. Now, what am I going to tackle next? It just helps create that momentum. I love that so much.
And one last thing I want to add to that from an energetic standpoint, because we've been talking about energy, getting your energy in the vibration of where it is you want to be is one of the most important steps in manifestation. That's another thing I talk about a lot. If you're low on that energetic vibrational scale and you're wanting to achieve success that's all the way at the top of the scale, they don't match. You're not getting there from here. So a really great way to raise your energy is by having fun and feeling good. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, even if it doesn't have to do with the goal that you're reaching for, Do more of that. Get yourself higher on that vibrational scale to start setting yourself up for success. That's why visualization is so key in manifesting. You could look at studies done of athletes who half of them do the actual work and half of them do the visualization of doing the work. And the results are almost the same because your body, when you're visualizing, everything changes. And it creates this whole momentum in your whole physical field, your energetic field. And it's fascinating. So like I said before, by celebrating and by enjoying your successes and even just enjoying the journey, because there are times in your journey where you might not be succeeding, but like you said earlier, you've learned a lesson. Celebrate that. Yeah, I didn't succeed, but whoa, that was a cool lesson. I could definitely use that to my benefit moving forward. Just by acknowledging it and feeling good about it, again, you're raising your energy. So that's key in moving forward, is keep your energy high. And no matter how you need to do that, celebration is definitely a good way to do that.
I feel very energetic. I think I might spontaneously combust right now, actually.
Oh, I love it.
So I have a question around, you've really tackled some incredible things in recent history. You started and you went to college for one thing and you ended up becoming a stylist. And then you've made another dramatic shift. How is your life? I mean, it could be obvious, but I don't want to assume. How is your life different now that you are this, I'll call it life guide with all the things, the modalities that you support? How is your life different now from when you were a stylist? What are the major ways it's different?
I would say it's the way that I feel in my person. I feel much more aligned with my soul's purpose, because that's another thing. As we maneuver through this thing called life, we are looking for what it is that lights us up. Call that whatever you want, soul's purpose, your destiny, whatever it may be. And that evolves too through the years. So I thought after graduating college and going into becoming a stylist, I thought at the time, I'm a very creative, free-flowing person. This seems like it would be something that would light me up. And it was a lot of fun. We ended up moving all over the United States with my husband's job. I was always able to work in beautiful salons and spas. So it served its purpose for the time. But then because I'm so tapped into my intuition and my inner knowing, I knew that this is starting to, I don't know what the right word is because I don't want to sound so dramatic, but this part of me is starting to die off and this new part of me is being born, and I'm totally open to going with it. So to be honest, when the beginning of the pandemic happened and I wasn't seeing clients, I thought to myself, what about this do I miss? If I never did this again, would I be okay with that? And I started realizing, yeah, the physicality of it really doesn't do much for me anymore. It's very physical, I'm not going to lie. The connection and the support I would give them and they would give me, and just the human connection, that's what I missed the most. And then I had received this divine download one day in the very beginning of quarantine to start a talk show. And I'm going, what in the world? Oh, okay. Like this was just a calling I got one day. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do it. And come to find out, it was to connect people and to share people's stories with the world and connect people with others. And it turned out to be an amazing thing. The show's on hiatus at the moment, but it's coming back soon. And every Thursday night, I would interview a different guest. And it was really making me realize the hairstyling part of it, the transformational artistic side was really, really fun. But I feel like I'm kind of evolving now into a different way of serving. The human aspect I still love. The other part of it too is I'm really realizing with quarantine, I like the online aspect too, of being able to connect with somebody, but not having to be in the physical energy and space of the client, because it frees up and it creates so much more in terms of possibilities of how you could run your business. So I just listened to every little nudge along the way and evolved as my life was evolving. And I feel like I feel much more aligned at the moment, listening to what my inner voice said about still serving people, but in a different way. And I feel like my soul's purpose is to help others find their soul's purpose. And it's been such a beautiful thing. Like I mean, I get giddy just thinking about it, that I get to do this as a job. Like this is unbelievable. I get to connect with people on such a soul level. and help them figure out what it is that lights them up, because so many of us are living this life that we think we're supposed to live. We've got a job, we've got this, but we're not enjoying ourselves. This is not what we want to do, right? So I get to help people figure that out. Like, it doesn't even seem real. I have to pinch myself sometimes and think, wow, I get to do this. So yeah, I feel much more aligned. And this just, like I said, is what I evolved to. And I just went with it. I went with my intuition, and here I am today.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. There are two things in particular that you said that I love. One is that you followed your intuition. So we're going back to intuition. And two, that your life has been an evolution. And I agree with you. I think so many folks feel like they've chosen a profession and they're stuck. You're not stuck. I want to tell you, you are not stuck. Find someone who speaks your language. Find a Jillian. I don't care who you find. Find someone who can help you discover what the next evolution is for you. That's incredibly important. And you don't have to act on it. Simply ask a question and get some information. No one says you have to do it. It's okay. You can stick with what you're doing. But I think everyone owes it to themselves that when I call it the universe, when the universe kind of nudges you and says, hey, dude, this may not be your thing. I think you owe it to yourself to at least explore and get curious and ask some questions. And it's a beautiful, beautiful inquiry. And then you get to decide whether you're going to act on that further or not. It's all good. Either way, it's all good. So, is there anything, a bit of advice or a topic or anything that you'd like to share with the community that we haven't touched on today? I mean, you and I could probably talk for like 4 more hours.
Oh God, there's tons of things I could touch on. Yeah. One of the things that I would love to talk to your community about today is and I touched on it earlier briefly, was emotional freedom technique. I love to give people things that they could use today, things that they could do today to feel better and empower themselves. I know in this strange world we're living in at the moment during, pandemic, a lot of people's anxiety might be a little high, or their worry or their fear, or, all of the things. And it's totally understandable. We're all in this together. So something like emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping, to those of you who might have already heard of it, is something that you could do right now and instantly start lowering your stress response. And it's so easy to learn. Meditation is my favorite thing of all things, but I have a lot of people that tell me, I can't meditate, or I can't quiet my mind, or I need to be in total silence with my eyes closed and the lights off. Tapping, on the other hand, you could do anywhere, anytime. You could do it when you're driving. I do that all the time. I'm sure the fellow people driving by must think I'm crazy. It looks a little funny, not going to lie. It looks a little weird, but it is so profound and has changed my life. I have a YouTube channel, JillianLaudano.tv, that I made basically around EFT tapping and meditation. And it's so cool to watch this channel grow and to see the comments that come in, because you really can shift the way you feel, reprogram the way you feel. And for all my, science people out there, again, look it up. There's tons and tons of research on this. And the person who started emotional freedom technique, it dates back, a little while. And they took, ancient Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure, combined it with psychotherapy, it started with thought field therapy, and then it evolved that somebody created emotional freedom technique, which is a one size fits all, super easy. So if this was a video version today, I'd show you guys what it is, but because it's not, like I said, hop over to my YouTube channel, you could check it out. And it's something that you could use, like I said, today, and instantly start changing the way you feel. And it's so beautiful. It's changed my life so much, and sharing that with people. And I also do it in my coaching. Again, all of my modalities are optional. When somebody coaches with me, it says right in my contract, these are all available to you if you want them. If you do not, we don't have to do any of them. But if you do, I'm going to include all of these as we feel fit. And it's something that I'm empowering someone else to learn, because then they could do it on their own without me ever being near them. And it's really, really powerful to heal yourself.
That is a perfect way to wrap up this episode. So, how can people learn more about you and what they do? How can they get in touch with you?
So my website is launching soon. It's actually almost completed. I'm so excited. That is JillianLaudano.com. Like I said, my YouTube channel, JillianLaudano.tv. And I also have an online community that I love. It is it's a community that has all things meditation, spirituality, you name it, it's in there. It's just a really, really beautiful place. And that is breatheandbalance.live. Now, if you go to my website, once it's up, all of this, you could access all of it from there. But until then, these are all the addresses. But yeah, there's lots of ways now with the internet. There's tons of ways to connect. But yeah, I would love to answer any questions anyone had along the way. If you do, leave them in any of the comments of any of those sites.
Oh, perfect. I'll put all that stuff in the show notes. Thank you so, so much for being here today. You are a light, and I am so honored that you are my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. This was such a pleasure. I love your podcast. I love all your content and what you do. I'm such a supporter of you. And thank you again for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, friends, as you wrap up today's episode and you get ready to hit stop, I'm going to do things in reverse today. I want you to start with a little bit of reflection today. And I want you to take just a few minutes and get in a quiet place, 5 minutes, maybe 10, and listen, just listen. And reflect on, if you don't hear anything right away, reflect on the last time you listened to your intuition and how did that work for you? And then I want you to take one action. And that action is ask yourself the question, what if? What if I listened to my intuition? And see what answer comes your way. I'd love to hear what you come up with. So let's continue the conversation. You can find the Encourage Project on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at _encourage_project. And you can find us at theencourageproject.com. Yippee! And you can also find me on LinkedIn or send me a note to hello@theencourageproject.com. And when you send me a note, tell me something good. Tell me an aha, an oh no, or a yippee. Those are some of my favorites. That's it for this edition, friends. Be safe, be well, and take care.